slides. So good morning, everyone. So I'm just going to share my slides with you. And to let you know that this is it's the quarter of 1st of January to the end of March. And as always, this work is fast moving. And there has been some areas of progress since this quarterly report was put together. So that means I will update you as well as we go through so that you're kind of current. So hopefully you can see my slides and hopefully they've just moved on. So you should be able to see now, hopefully, Telford and Wrekin aspiration and unlocking potential slide with an image of a map to your left-hand side. So hopefully that's what you can see. So just remind people who haven't been connected with this work for a little while, speaking to someone now who was saying, actually, this is a catch-up after 2 years, which is great.
And
yeah.
Sorry, Mark, it's not moved on, mate.
It's not.
No.
And if you could show it as a presentation rather than we've just got it from your screen. Do it as a presentation.
Let me stop sharing. Let's escape it. So let's try that again. Okay. I don't know why it does that. Let me share. So I've got it on slideshow. So are you saying move it to? Can you see if it's like this? Does it feel comfortable with people to look at it in this with my presentation slides on and not see it as a slideshow? Is that okay with people?
Yeah, it's fine for me. Is it just moving? Yeah. So you're on slide 2 at the moment, and just drop it forward to slide 3. Yeah, that's changed now.
A while or new to the work, just to remind you that in Telford and Wrekin, supported by Foundation and resourced through the work through Lloyds Bank Foundation, and I am an implementation lead for Lloyds Bank Foundation, we have been looking at what are the key themes to work on within the borough, what's important to the borough, and then how do we support that shared vision to meet or achieve those things that are important to the borough. And after a series of workshops several years ago, a couple of years ago, we landed on aspiration and unlocking potential. So we felt that if people aspired for more and we were able to unlock the potential in people to reach what they individually wanted to attain, then that's what we needed to do in the borough. And as a result of that, people have better and healthier lives. So seeing that around the focus lenses of employment, so unlocking potential in employment and skills, and also for people to reach their capability and control over their own lives, and therefore people having greater outcomes. So the vision is for all people to reach their potential, so not just focused on particular age groups, for people to have opportunities to reach their potential. The challenges are identified and they lead to real change. And that's through a collaborative and partnership approach, bringing the right people into the right space. And you'll start to see as I take you through some of the progress made in the last quarter, how that's starting to become a reality. And to strengthen community-led organisations and find new ways of designing and resourcing services so that people facing complex issues in the borough get the support they need when they need it and in ways that work best for them. So we can do that by ensuring that the people who are affected or impacted by services and provision that we're providing have their voice from the very beginning within that design or change. So what have we been doing over the last quarter, or how do we feel that we're at in the last quarter? The engagement and involvement is across 4 areas, so 4 groups, 4 sectors. None of this could probably be achieved by one sector working alone, but we recognise that you have to bring in those 4 sectors. So with the public sector organisations, Probably when breaking down engagement within those two focus areas of employment and education, there's work still to be done to bring people from kind of informed about the work and into being engaged and influencing positions. So at the moment, some people in the public sector or different departments that work in public sector know what we're doing, come to some events, but probably not influencing the work at the moment. So much more work to do there. Community organisation, the probably representation in employment and education is high. So we're getting a lot of community organisations involved, but there still needs to be some relationship building to move some people from, again, engaged to kind of influencing the work. I would say the greatest sector influencing the work at the moment is probably the community sector, which is great, because they're probably the organisations that will probably fill the gaps for some of the work or changes that we begin to identify. People, so obviously people who are impacted upon change need to be part of this conversation, and we are and we have been and we will continue to develop community explorers to actively engage with people in the community, and now they're moving from getting lots of information about unlocking potential from people out in the wider community to really targeting that down to experiences, opportunities and challenges in respect of accessing employment, skills, and education, life experience. So we're targeting right down now to say, tell us about these two particular areas. In the business sector, for those who've followed us on this journey, you'll know from previous quarter reports that we've been really focused on, and thank you for some of you in this space now who've been part of those discussions about how we can get real engagement from the private sector, and broaden that to employers. Employers cut across the community sector and private sector. So we decided we needed to get a group of employers who would be committed to plan, engage and develop ideas to provide fair and good employment for all. That we got employers who didn't just come to the odd event, but actually were committed to this journey of making real significant change in building aspiration and unlocking potential. So we had a kind of target of 12. We've now got 8, which I think is a good way through. And a lot of that came out of the big event in London in October. Mark, you're here from the DWP. I know that you went to that. And this initiative came out of those discussions. So we're evolving all the time. So those 8 employers I'll speak about briefly in a moment. This work doesn't happen without creating really strong and good relationships. And sometimes things happen, as they have in the last quarter, and I think, why didn't that happen 2 years ago? Oh, if only that had happened 2 years ago, we'd have been so much further forward now. But you realise that you have to create trusted spaces, that people don't just all of a sudden open up and be transparent about how their role could be different and what they'd change in their organisation if they could. Those conversations don't happen straight away. So we kind of continually have more conversations with more people, and I've got a list of people to speak again to next week, and there's lots of people we're trying to bring into this space to make real change happen. So each quarter I'll just brief you on who we're having deeper conversations with, or new conversations. So have stronger conversations now and engagement, and I would say almost influencing now from Telford and Wrekin Council social work team, from the Integrated Care Board, had conversations with the Levelling Up leads, Energise, I think you might be here now, I can't see who's in the space now, regional funders, Public Health, Enable, I can see Leanne's here, Shropshire Good Food Partnership, the new youth lead at Telford and Wrekin Council, working in a more influencing role now with Mind and CBS Children's Services. So some are always informed, but now moving into that more engaged and influencing stage. So there's been some real progress there. So what have we actually done in the quarter? I'll just share that with you, and why we've done each piece of work. So I'll just take you through these. So and I'll also share with you any progress we've made since this slide. So we've held a Strength in the Community Sector event that was on February the 1st, bringing together people across the community sector to plan for change. So the reason we're doing this community sector work is because I mentioned earlier that any gaps that we need that might become apparent as we continue through this work is probably likely to be picked up by the community sector. The public sector money is retracting, so we need to find a new way of commissioning, working and co-producing in partnership with people and the community sector. So there's no good keeping down that education and employment route, finding and identifying the gaps and looking around and noticing that the community sector aren't as strong as we thought they might be. So at the same time as taking this journey, it's been important to support and make more resilient the local community sector. So the reason we held the event on the 1st of February was to kind of start that journey, develop shared visions to appreciate the assets available, identify opportunities and respond to change and opportunity effectively in Telford. I thought it'd be great if we had 12 organisations at that event on the February 1st. We had 48, which was fantastic, and we've got another meeting soon where we begin to further those discussions. Alongside that, we've been facilitating a funders conversation in response to the low level of funding awarded to Telford and Wrekin community organisations, and that's in order to explore some of the challenges in low funding to Telford and how challenges might be understood, overcome and resourced. That's been really important. The reason why Telford was chosen as one of the 6 areas, one of the reasons was because it is a black spot for funding. So a lot of the large funders regionally, nationally, don't always provide funding or the right level of funding for Telford community organisations. We've definitely been running over the years. I know that I've seen many of them events around how to create better funding applications, etc. But maybe that wasn't just all of the answer. And this is what we're exploring. So we brought together 6 community organisations and 4 national funders together around the table to discuss the reasons for the low level of funding. Was it quality? Was it quantity? What more can we do? And to just further those conversations, they've gone away and they've written a paper, a suggestion about how we forward this and how we resource research into how we can improve funding in the borough. I only received that paper yesterday and eagerly read through it, and it will mean a follow-up with those 6 community organisations to design and shape something together that we hope will have a stronger legacy for the borough. That's why I've been doing that, and a little bit more. So there'll be a little bit more coming out of that in the next quarter meeting. We've supported the community explorers to engage with people living and working in the borough, having that conversation on their experiences of employment and education. And we've done that in order to ensure that plans formed around service or systems change are influenced by those with lived experience of services and systems, and we'll continue to do that. We held our first community response forum in quarter 1, and the forum was a trial and included local community leads and representatives. And we've done that in order to evaluate and refine a personalised offer of support to new and developing local community organisations in order for them to develop resilience in smaller organisations. And really that worked really well. So what that looked like was community leads giving up their time to create a space for 2 hours for one community organisation who was just starting or wanting to develop to come along and say where they're stuck, and for that group to help them in a way of signposting and networking them. You could almost think of it as Dragon's Den without the money. And it was about, you know, sometimes it's our networks and what we know already that can help and support a local organisation. So we're hoping for that to be part of that ecosystem with the new kind of funding opportunities that we might be able to bring to the borough by working a bit more collectively and a little bit more intelligence around the funding issue for the borough. So we're hoping we're going to do six more months of that trial. And if anybody wants to know more about that, please let me know. We did hold our first meeting of the newly developed employment group. So a group of 8 local employers to discuss recruitment challenges in order to make good and fair employment opportunities within the borough. Bringing them together will give us hopefully the opportunity to unlock the challenges in recruitment from an employer's perspective. So we've been doing a lot of work from employer support and job seekers, and there's some of you here today who've been part of the Reimagine recruitment work, but this is about that broader, wider lens, so seeing it from the employer. What was really emerging from their discussions so far has been around putting the spotlight on apprenticeships and how they could be better within the borough, and how picking up those who don't get a job at the end might be addressed. They are also wanting to put careers events under the spotlight and see if we can work together more effectively with other partners to create more inclusive career events into the future. So that's, I think, at the moment what they're planning to explore. We also launched an organisational resilience programme, completely fully funded by Lloyds Bank Foundation. And this is in order to help organisations deal with both planned and unplanned changes that occur, as well as helping different organisations understand one another better. We had the option to maximum numbers, and it's great to say that they were all taken up. So we've got that programme running 10 months, and it's aimed at Telford organisations. So we're hoping that some of the learning from that can also be cascaded within the borough. So that would be great. We also set up a photo exhibition at Meeting Point House. This was at the request of the management, and displays some of the winning photos that we encourage people in the borough to take of how they saw and visualised Telford. What did Telford mean to them? So having that display now up at Meeting Point House, you'll see it in the reception area if you go in. This provides an opportunity to celebrate Telford, the value of collaboration within this work, and to share with the community the unlocking potential work. And as mentioned before, we've held several meetings in the last quarter that's evidencing a real willingness to align and collaborate on common objectives. I mean, that's what we need to do, is to spend out our collective money more wisely, collectively, and go further with it. So there has been discussions with Levelling Up, Rock, Public Health, ICB, COG, Mine, Telford, Wrekin, Council, and others. And this allows us to explore ideas together, share and align opportunities, and make better use of resource funding and reach to the benefit of all. So that's what we've been doing in the last quarter. I just wanted to share kind of some nice little photos here. This is the organisational resilience work, those people who've been on it. And I just wanted to put this slide in as well every quarter, that kind of what does it mean to people. So they've had their first residential, the organisational resilience group, which I hear went very well. And I got an email without asking for it from two people who attended, just to let you know that I really appreciate your encouragements for me to sign up. I just returned from the first residential weekend feeling I've learnt a lot, and it's really nice to meet the other participants from Telford and Wrekin. We got on really well. That's from Faye, from Chinese Arts and Cultural Centre. And I also got a message from Belinda saying that she'd had a lovely time at Peterborough and learnt a lot. So that's kind of great, and we can see how we are actively engaging and reaching out to those diverse communities as well, to ensure that they're part of a more resilient community sector. What are we doing in the next quarter? Really, some of it is about trying to move people, encourage people to not just be informed about this work, but engaged and influencing where it's going. It cannot just be held by a few individuals. In order for this to make significant impact in the future, it has to be held by us. We're all part of the community to help shape it. So I'm kind of, if you get an email off me, I'm kind of working out how you get further engaged in the work. So I'm trying to see it from my perspective, where I think you can really hold some value in shaping, inviting you to things that I think could be really valuable to you. Many of you in this space already are are completely involved in it already and trying to help you work with other partners to make significant difference. So I'm working on those two maps, one in respect of education, one in employment. So the map helps to understand how currently stakeholders in both education and employment relate to one another, allowing that quick visual and quick way to see how influences flow and to see who's not in the conversation at the moment and how we bring them in. So in April, I'll show you the dates in a moment, we are, as part of that, running 2 maturity matrix workshops. Helen's here now, who helps at Lloyds Bank Foundations, who's in this session. And this maturity matrix allows us to see where we are currently in the work and how we can set priorities for the future, what that might look like. And we do that together. Any of you can come to those maturity matrix workshops. One of them will focus on employment, one will focus on education, and it will help us ascertain where we're working collaboratively to address the challenges and opportunities separately within education and employment. Obviously, there's overlaps. And this should also identify what the next phase of the work looks like in each of those focused areas and how it might be resourced. So what we'll do is we'll say this should be the next phase of the work. And therefore, how do we now resource that? How do we make it happen? So we'll also look at that. And there's probably about eight or nine people booked on each already. So it also gives you an opportunity to network and understand others who might be working in your focused areas. We've got further meetings with employers planned to understand recruitment from that employer's perspective, looking at apprenticeships, looking at careers events, putting those under the microscope, and to explore, identify and design change together. And as they develop their ideas, it will be important to bring those other sector groups in to those conversations. Community explorers continue to visit, test and explore information gathered. They use a tool called the Telford Best Tree, and that's working really well. So it gets people in the community to think about what they would like, what education would look like at its best, what employment would look like at its best, and then they're the leaves of the tree, and the roots of the tree is what we would need to get there. And in Q2, they're looking at more targeted groups who may have had diverse experiences of education and employment. We're really kind of an exciting outcome at the moment. If I was to say what was exciting me about the work, there has been some real opportunities to align closer. So aligning community reach work. It became very apparent to me in conversations that I was having that there was lots of organisations that were all wanting to do similar work in trying to reach the community, whether it's to reach young people, older people, to get their views and opinions on different activity within the borough. And it struck me that some had money to do that, others didn't. Some have dedicated resources to do it or dedicated people. So I kept going away wondering why they didn't just align it. Why couldn't we just put all that money centrally, align our strategic plans to reach the community? And maybe by doing that, we can do something more regularly. We can build up the citizen and community voice to a much stronger and powerful by doing it in a kind of group co-produced way. So not everybody doing their own individual exploring and research and outreach. And I feel like I'm pushing at open doors because next week I have meetings with across the group, social work team, Mind, and Rock, the police, and all other groups who are saying, actually, maybe we could do something collectively and not just using our individual funds to reach the community. And maybe that could be something much more sustainable. And that would also mean that whatever we built, whatever we created, could actually be something that becomes a great resource to all the other organisations in the borough when trying to reach, measure impact, involve and engage those people will already be there to help with that. Don't know what it looks like. If you want to be part of those discussions and talks and see where they go, then let me know. To identify those with a more support or resource can become leaders of change in this work. So we're busily identifying people, looking at extra support and resources. And I guess part of that has been the image on the right hand side. Love that image. I mentioned earlier the funders conversation. This was the funders conversation, not a presentation from funders, but actually sitting around the table with funders and community groups and saying, these are the challenges from both sides. How can we start and begin to address them? And it was fantastic. And it seems a really great way to collectively drive change within the borough. It was interesting. I couldn't be there. I was away on holiday, and somebody said, oh, shouldn't it be when you're there? And I went, no, this is about the community owning this. And it was kind of great to come back and read a report about how that went and what their plans are now to develop that resilience. So we're always going to be looking for those leaders of change and bringing them into the space and empowering them and support them to take this work forward, to hold this work. And then in next quarter, creating the foundations for a stronger community sector in Telford, enabled through the work with COG, Community Resilience Programme, the 1st February event, the funding conversation, and the charity response forum. So that's what we'll be doing in the next quarter. Headlines, highlights and challenges. Strengthening the voice of the community. You know, I think it's been taking a little bit longer than we would have thought, but it has led to this exciting opportunity to work collectively now with a common aim, common vision, sharing resources. So to date, the work's been community-wide, drawing in general education, employment experiences, but now we're going to target it right down and then work in partnership, bring everybody around the table. Who's influencing the work? When we did the first maturity matrix, I guess we're just looking at unlocking potential, and that is a big, broad topic. Since then, we've started to focus it down and split it into employment and education and bring the right stakeholders together in each. And I guess that meant the last maturity matrix about where we were at wasn't as helpful to us. It was too kind of general. So now, because we're going to home it down and have 2 separate maps, 2 separate maturity matrix events, we can start to see exactly where we are in those 2 areas and begin to align it and seek that opportunity. Aligning the work, I'm just going to mention something in a moment that is also exciting. So we've already got that exciting opportunity to work with partners to reach out into the community, and I'm sure there'll be more partners wanting to get into that space to share resources and make change happen. That's happening with the community infrastructure discussions, but there is a really exciting opportunity coming out of the employment work as well, where we're looking at aligning. So it became very apparent to me in the very first employers event, where these 8 employers came together and they were having these emerging discussions about apprenticeships and careers, and making sure that it was as inclusive as possible to reach those with the most complex needs in our community, which can be complex in so many different ways. And it struck me on reflection that I kind of feel, I might be proved wrong, that the employers are willing to come out of their comfort zone, are willing to trial new things that kind of reach and support those in employment and into employment with complex needs. But I still kind of felt that the people that they will see as potential employees may still be those nearer the job market. And there will still be these people in Telford that are furthest away from the job market, who whatever and however strength and aims and visions the employers have, will still remain distant. So we can't just rely on good and fair jobs from the employers, that there is this big piece of work that needs to be done about making people more employable ready. So I had some discussions over the last week or so, which is post this presentation and these slides in two areas really. One was with Job Centre Plus, and Mark, I know you're here. I don't know how much you know about these conversations, Mark, but it was, and we spoke about whether the value of undertaking some research with people just coming into the kind of job centre journey and focusing down on two areas of complex needs, which will intersect with other complex needs, but focusing down on mental health and neurodiversity to track people as they move through the process and system. And that was talked about with the representation from Job Centre Plus in that space. And it was suggested as an idea. And at the moment, I have to say, it's just an idea. With all of these things, they become ideas that then start to form into something, might slightly change. We might come across challenges with doing what we would like to do. I don't know where, again, I don't know where it's going to go at the moment. It's just very, very early days, but it's very exciting. And what it will do is allow everyone to understand what it might look like in that space. Some of the easy things we can start to put into place that might be creating barriers. At the moment, we want to do it through learning circles. So maybe just having people round tables in a very informal way to say, how are things going? You know, what barriers are emerging? How do you want to get involved in shaping change? What does change look like for people who are seeking work? And might only support the public sector in that space, the people seeking work and the generations to come. But it will probably also evidence the need to make community organisations who might be able to support the gaps that are identified more resilient. So though that conversation was kind of really powerful. I had another meeting yesterday where we said we didn't want to lose any of the Reimagine recruitment work in this. So we've done lots of Reimagine recruitment activity already, and we didn't want to lose it. So there could be, you know, a risk of losing it from, because the employers will go and put things under the spotlight from their perspective, and we could be doing this tracking work, this research work, and that kind of takes on a life of its own. What we didn't want to do is lose all the really good work we've done in the Reimagine recruitment work to date. So what we've agreed is it's very clear to us that it's influencing this employer work. We presented the highlights and headlines from the Reimagine recruitment activity to the employers so they know about it. And certainly the work that we might be doing with the Job Centre is also influenced by that Reimagine recruitment work. But a lot of us don't know anything about that Reimagine recruitment work and what came out of it, how it can influence, how it can support community bids and funds. So what we've agreed to do is create a paper that will give that kind of learning from the early Reimagine recruitment activity, capture it, show the recommendations that were coming out of it, because although it's influencing this work, more people need to read about it, and it might begin to influence other work that's happening in the borough. So we don't want to lose any of the work that's led us to this point. We just want to help it become the foundation of the current change and opportunities. And the other areas are understanding the resources needed. The maturity matrix carried out 18 months ago did identify priorities for collaboration and involvement. In the April ones, that are happening, and you said again, you're invited to. We plan to combine an assessment of where we're currently at, posing the question, where next? And when we're thinking about what does the next phase look like, we will stop and say, how will it be achieved and how will it be resourced? So we might identify in the changes in that maturity matrix some community work, engagement that needs some resourcing, and then we'll look at how we can resource it. We'll all know, won't we, that if we're applying for funding, that we have to show why that funding is needed. We have to make the case for it. And we're hoping that the maturity matrix will help us make the case for activity and work and next phase in unlocking potential. And then the other thing that's really important, and I'm personally focused on, is handing over. So to ensure that the changes we define, design and deliver are resilient, and we need to effectively share and empower ownership of this work within our communities. So this needs to be considered within every aspect of this work, touching upon the core principles of engagement, collaboration, and sustainability. And this must be built into all our future delivery plans, which might include identifying and investing in the development of local leaders. So with the employers, if I give you an example, it'd be very easy for them to say, why don't we trial another careers event? And I could say, yes, we can bring a group together and we'll create a careers event. But what we should be doing, what we have been doing instead, is looking at who's running the career events already and how might they want to be involved and engaged, and how can we support them to collaborate and create bigger ones so that they own it, so that all of this work begins to be owned and shared by the community. That it doesn't require one or two individuals to be there, it just continues and takes on a life of its own. So that's kind of an individual focus. And then I've just, for last slide, I've just put some of the dates for the diary and some opportunities that you may or may want to get involved in or engaged in. And these are all shared with you regularly, but I just wanted to highlight them now. And if you've all got my email address, if you want to know more about these or get involved or attend, please let me know. So we've certainly got the 24th of April, which is a maturity matrix event around recruitment. Where are we at? What does the next stages look like? And in the 30th of April online, a stronger look at put education under the spotlight. I think we've got substantial work to do there to bring in the right partners and groups. So welcome anyone who's involved in education and skills development to be part of that. In the afternoon on the 30th of April, we've got a follow-up to the 1st of February event, Strengthening the Community Sector. And we'll be looking at how in the community we can just do better at developing skills and knowledge for the community sector. Anyone can come to that. You didn't have to go on to the 1st of February event. And then on 20th of May is the next employer meetup. We kind of don't want to, try not to go in too heavy with the employers and have other external organisations unless it's to do with their focused area. But we do have representation from the public sector. The Job Centre Plus come along as well, which is great to have them as a partner within that space to help support and engage and be informed by employers in that space. And then opportunities, you might want to be part of the employment journey and the research in the future. You might want to be part of that or informed by it or engaged in it. If you're one of those groups who would really value, because you want to engage with the wider community and you'd like to be part of exploring some collaborative working approaches, then let me know and you can be part of those discussions. Really want to widen out and broaden getting in education partners into this space. They seem a lot tougher and harder to get in front of, particularly in the public sector. So if anybody's got any really good contacts there in the education sector that can help to start, make significant changes in the future of education, that would be fantastic. We are reaching out to many. You may give us someone we already know or we're engaged with, but it's always good to kind of try and fill some of those gaps. And then if you're interested in improving employment opportunities, particularly related to exploring the inclusiveness of career events and opportunities and supporting apprenticeships, then let us know, because as the employers continue to develop these ideas, it'll be really important that they're then tested with community organisations and those seeking work, and that they're designed then together, trialled and tested together. So put my email address on the bottom. Really happy to take any queries you've got. If you're not on our monthly briefing, then let us know, because I'll be giving kind of links to these events and opportunities within that. And there we go. That's the quarter and the quarter ahead. So I'll stop sharing, and I'll also switch off the recording.